Welcome, I'm Jon Caldara, president of the Independence Institute and your devil's advocate. Devil's advocate? That'll work too. Later on, we're going to talk a bit about polling in Colorado and where the state's going. But first, do you like taking selfies? Did you know they're against the law? Until this man changes it. Senator Owen Hill, thanks for being here.
Jon, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
And I'm glad you brought your mouthpiece with you. It's always good to have your lawyer with you.
You know, we work together on a lot of things, making laws better for Coloradans.
Michael Francisco, thank you for being here. Now, you represent this guy in a lawsuit.
I do.
And you're a friend of his, too. Have you ever had one of his drinks?
Occasionally.
What is the specialty you make? I forget, but
I call it the Owen fashion.
What is the Owen fashion again?
You know, it's my own twist on the old fashioned. If I told you any more than that, I'd have to kill you.
All I know is I couldn't drive for like 3 days after having one of those. So
I think that's a you problem more than anything.
All right, let's get to the subject of ballot selfies. How did this problem pop up? Let's start over here. What is a ballot selfie?
A ballot selfie is anytime somebody takes a picture of their ballot after they fill it out and mark who they're voting for. And as you've probably seen on your Facebook feed, most of us have, a lot of people like to either brag who they voted for or make fun of who they didn't vote for, and they post it on Facebook or Instagram and encourage people to vote or express a political viewpoint.
Now, one of the reasons I'm very concerned about mail-in ballots is not only do we throw this valuable part of our republic through the mail like grocery store coupons, but also the privacy of a voting booth. You can have an abusive husband who says, you're going to vote for Donald Trump, and you can say, yeah, absolutely I will. But in the privacy of that booth, you can do whatever you want. Mail-in ballots now make it so that you can be more public, and that's good and bad. You know, and so I'm always concerned about people being intimidated by mail-in ballots. You're representing an idea that you should also have free speech with your ballot and be able to tell people who you voted for.
You know, it's a relatively recent idea, this idea of free speech, Jon, at least in the history of the world, right? America pioneers this idea. The First Amendment is first for a reason, and free political speech was at the core of our founders' idea of putting that in the First Amendment. So this is just a logical extension. Say what you will about the problems of mail-in ballots, and I've certainly been on record with some of those, but given that we have it, people should have the freedom to express their political thoughts, including taking a picture of their ballots and sharing it for their friends to see.
Help me out. Why is it illegal? Mitch Morrissey made it clear, Denver DA said, you can't do this. It's a misdemeanor to take a picture of your ballot and how you voted. What was the reasoning behind that?
Well, there's a Colorado statute that's been on the books for quite some time, since 1891, that makes it illegal to show somebody your ballot after you've prepared it for voting. These laws were passed around the country, historically speaking, around the time when we were actually starting to adopt government-printed ballots. The political parties themselves used to print ballots. And so this was a law that had to do with stemming influence buying and corruption when people would vote in sort of a very public setting in the late 1800s.
So it gets back to the idea of a private ballot, that the idea probably was to make sure people weren't intimidated or bought off and they could prove, hey, look, I did vote, give me my $10, I voted for your guy. Is that where it probably came from?
It's generally the idea, so that people couldn't pressure people when they were turning in their ballot at the voting booth. Although the interesting thing is, there are really no documented cases, certainly in the last 50, 60 years, of any sort of vote buying or corruption scheme that involves somebody taking a picture of their ballot. These laws have just been laying dormant on the books, and then technology catches up and now everybody takes pictures of everything, and all of a sudden we have a lot of criminals walking around not knowing it. So Mitch Morrissey, in his infinite wisdom, goes and puts out a press release saying that it's illegal to take a ballot selfie in Colorado. And that gets a lot of people's attention because many people...
And Owen Hill loves a good challenge, so you saw this and decided, this is a job for Owen Hill.
Jon, you know what's ironic about it? I was scrolling through Facebook, you know, the consummate political tool these days, and literally sandwiched in between two of my friends sharing their ballots for the world to see was this article that another friend shared about how it was illegal here in Colorado. I mean, that's how ironic, that's how slow the law has been to catch up with where culture and technology is.
All right, now you guys have just followed, let me go to the mouthpiece. So you filed a suit for this man. On what grounds? What did you file and what are you hoping for?
We're asking for an injunction, and we think the law violates the First Amendment. It's pretty simple. We want declaratory relief and an injunction, both as to Owen Hill and our other plaintiff in the case, but we're also asking for a facial injunction that would benefit everybody in Colorado that says this law is just so overbroad and restricting valid and legal forms of speech, and it doesn't serve the government interest in the way that they may try to argue. So the law should be declared unconstitutional as to this activity of taking a picture of your own ballot.
Where did you file?
We filed in federal court here in Denver.
Okay. Now, it's possible we might have a ruling just before this show airs, so that would be pretty exciting. What do you think?
We are hoping to get an order before Election Day. That was part of the relief we requested. We have worked with the Attorney General's office representing the Secretary of State and Attorney General, and the federal court has so far given us a hearing before Election Day, and we're hoping that we'll get a ruling before Election Day so that these individuals can exercise their right to free speech before it's essentially too late. As
Senator Hill's lawyer and good friend, how many times have you had to keep him out of jail for bad behavior?
Well, that would be confidential.
That is confidential. All right. Was this a constituent?
You can't count that high, is what you say.
You thought it was better to have a friend as a lawyer, because that way you didn't have to pay.
Absolutely.
Why do you think this is important? I mean, isn't this trivial that somebody wants to do it? Mitch Morrissey says you can't do it. I can't imagine somebody actually going up and filing charges against hundreds of people, thousands of people, tens of thousands of people on Facebook who want to share how they voted.
Yeah, I've had multiple people ask me that, and I asked myself that same question when this first came up. Is this trivial? And I want to make it clear this is not an endorsement for the excessive selfies that people post out on social media. There are way too mmany out there. But when you come to think of it, again, this is one of the founding principles of our country. Free speech, especially free political speech. We're not going to be coerced. You can share how you will your participation in this. If this was applied, obviously you'd see the problems there. If it's not applied, now we have a law in the books, and we're a nation of laws, not of people. We have a law in the books that's unenforceable and not going to be enforced. So I have a duty to my constituents and to my state.
Ammunition magazine ban, that's the same way, but we'll talk later.
Why that should be repealed as well. Right. So we have a duty to make sure laws fit exactly how we're going to use them here in Colorado. And if that's not trivial, that is one of the most sacred things we do.
There's a principle here involved, which is, do you have free speech? Can you post pictures that you want to picture, that you want people to see? Let me play devil's advocate.
Hey.
Isn't there a possibility of intimidation here? Isn't there a possibility of endangerment? If Trump wants to say that we've rigged the election, if somebody says, wait a second, I see that you voted the wrong way and I'm going to come and get you, and anybody who does this, isn't there possible threats that could happen to people who decide to share their ballot?
There's a lot of theorizing on that. Also, under the same arguments, theoretically, people could prove how they did vote to prevent rigging an election through this process. But beyond that, that's why I'm working with a bipartisan group of folks. We're looking for relief right now, but we need to fix these laws. If we need to go back and check the laws to make sure that we can appropriately punish vote buying or intimidation, we need to do that while making sure people have their free speech.
What was the reason Mitch Morrissey came forward and decided to do this? Did he see some of this online and wanted to put a stop to it? I mean, is anybody else, any other DA in Colorado making a deal about this?
I haven't seen any other DAs give statements, although the Secretary of State did go out and talk to a news reporter and say that he thought this law is even more important with mail-in ballots than before we had mail-in ballots, indicating that at least the Secretary of State thinks it's a law that really should be followed and enforced. And that's really the problem here, is that people get a mixed message when you say, well, nobody's going to enforce the law, don't worry, just go ahead and speak. Well, we're talking about a misdemeanor that's punishable by a $1,000 fine or a year in jail, and there are a lot of citizens who believe they should not engage in conduct that's going to subject them to fines or imprisonment. And so it's discouraging people from speaking. And it's speaking about politics, which is something that we want free and open discussion for in the society.
And that's funny, what a year of odd bedfellows. So Wayne Williams, great guy, great Secretary of State, Republican on this side, not so great guy, but also a Republican over here, doing on different sides of the issue. We're having the same thing on issues of aid in dying. We're having the same issues on Amendment 71 to take away the amendment process. This is a year for party labels not to mean nearly as much.
After you saying that, can't help thinking you should change the name of your show from The Devil's Advocate just to The Devil.
I don't mind that.
Yeah, exactly. You know, Wayne's a great guy, and one of the things I love about the Republican Party is we can have these kind of disagreements. Let's go duke it out. Let's make sure that we have robust discussion about what our founding fathers meant when they set up what I would say is the greatest nation on earth.
And if I could just add, I think it's important that people understand that free speech, especially free political speech, is really not a partisan political issue. I know Senator Hill well, and he's certainly a Republican, but our other plaintiff in the case is a registered Democrat and is nearly the polar opposite of Senator Hill in terms of political views. And the point is that everybody wants to speak about politics, and this law is an equal opportunity discriminator against people, whether they be libertarians, Republicans, Democrats, or of any political stripe. So it really is not a partisan issue, even though we happen to have an elected representative as one of the plaintiffs.
Are you seeing other issues with the election system now? We've got a minute or so left. Is there? I mean, I get the idea. When it comes to being able to take a picture of your own ballot, it's your ballot. You did it. I understand the logic. I understand the free speech. I understand the intimidation part of it. I understand, there could be other issues there. Is there a better way to fix this? In other words, is it the mail-in ballot itself? Well, I guess you could still do it in a voting booth, can't you? There's nothing that says you can't pull all your levers the old-fashioned way. This is a techno problem. We should ban cell phones on election day.
You're exactly right. I've talked to some people working in the polling place.
6 months long. So.
Yeah, right. We have a 3-4 week election process out here. I don't think we're going to get around technology here. This is the challenge of making sure that our laws fit, our ideas, our founding principles fit where technology and where culture has taken us. That's part of our task. That's what people elect us to do. I think that's what we're working to do here.
I mean, voter integrity, voter intimidation is wrong. Nobody in this case is against that idea. The problem is this particular law and the way they're talking about applying it just has nothing to do with preventing voter intimidation and fraud. That's illegal under a number of other laws that we don't challenge.
If you guys aren't successful, will you do something in the legislature next year?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, first of all, I think we ought to end it this way. So can we? Right. Get in there. Oh, wait, no, just my chin in that one. Let's try it again.
Both of them.
Michael, Francisco, thank you so much. My friend,
Jon,
good to see you again.
Great to see you again. Thanks for doing this.
Stay tuned.